to us from Ohio?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
So
Just started
it's
snowing here, actually.
it's already cold in Ohio, huh?
It is. Yeah. It snowed big time yesterday. It's supposed to be 60. Cleveland gets weird weather. Like this is like the time where weird stuff happens. It'll be 60 on Wednesday. So it's just
And it's
like
crazy. It's great.
snowing right now.
I was just there like a few weeks ago for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, and,
Oh,
and yeah,
cool.
like you could tell that the weather was like really changing. And it's like, well, if Cleveland's changing, we're all changing. So
Yeah.
exactly, man. So of course, Michael LoPresti of Lighthouse and The Whaler, fantastic band, fantastic vocalist, and yeah, man. I mean, first of all, a truly wonderful band that you front there, Michael, and the new album Talk, which was released just last month, already getting some rave reviews. Love the album, so congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah. It's
Absolutely.
out there in the world.
Yeah. So, love the message of the album, Michael, because I mean, we read a quote from you once that where you said that this album was in a way like a return to making music in pure form, basically like not making it for any other purpose other than the joy of making art.
Yeah.
Makes total sense, man. Makes total sense. And with that, sometimes it got us thinking, like you guys having critically acclaimed, but with that, sometimes the process and purity, the pureness gets a little muddled, right, Michael?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, early on we did receive like some pretty good critical review, which was awesome, but gets in your head a little bit, I think. You start thinking, oh, well, I need to be like this or sound like this or do these things because I want people to continue to like what I'm doing. And I think after Montreal, when we were working on this record, that all just kind of left. Mainly because, as I've talked about in other interviews and things, we kind of shifted our team around, and I don't know, we really were like on a precipice where it was like, I don't know if we're going to keep, making songs as the Lighthouse and the Whaler or not. It just didn't, we weren't sure where it was going to go. And I think that was really freeing. It allowed us to just kind of be like, we're going to make the songs we want to make and not really care about what anyone thinks about them in the sense of how we created them. I mean, we hope people obviously like them, find, themselves in the songs, find something for themselves in the songs. But when we were making them, we just wanted to do what we felt like was in us and the three of us, as well as like how our collaboration together between the three of us kind of made something unique. So that's kind of like really where it all came from and where it all started.
And it sounds like you guys had a great time making the record. The record is phenomenal, but it sounds like you guys were free and like just like had a good time. But yeah, you're talking about the chemistry with your fellow mates there, and it got us thinking, Michael. That about that documentary Behind the Music that VH1 used to have. It's like the greatest thing. They should force every band in America to watch Behind the Music and use it as an educational tool, because you guys are a shining example of staying together. I think. I mean, you joined in 2008. That was already kind of a minute ago. What's the secret, Michael? How you guys like kept like that brotherhood going?
Honesty, I think, and learning how to work with each other and talk with each other, because each guy in the band has a way that is best to kind of communicate with them, and we all kind of get that for one another, and that is the thing, and that's the thing that's kind of kept us together, and just being honest, just being like, here's what I feel right now, and sometimes it's like a fight, and sometimes it's like, oh man, like you're right, like I didn't realize I was, being this way or doing this thing that was bothering you. And so in doing that, I think we really learned like what our roles are in the band, and we were able to kind of just like really fit into those roles really well because we were just open about it. So
yeah. And I imagine at this point, all of you have been through something like personally hard, and the other have like carried you through all three of you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have children. Mark just got married like a year and a half ago, and I mean, Ryan's switched jobs a few times. I mean, we've all gone through something that we've had to work with the other ones on to just be there for them in whatever way we can. And in the process of being in a band, like it's your life. It's like you're doing all of that stuff, not just like, it's not like here's your band and then here's your life and like there are these different things. Like when you're creating art, like that's all one thing. It all exists together as one thing. And so you can't really separate it. And we were driving back and forth to Nashville a couple times the last few months, and you're in a car for 8 hours together. We haven't been touring as much because of the COVID stuff, but you're in a car together for 8 hours, and it's like, it's really, I mean, I don't spend that kind of time with anybody else that I know that
Right.
I'm friends with, it's like, so we really get to share a lot about who we are and what we're going through, what we're doing, what we're feeling with each other. And so, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
really unique and special relationship, being in a band with
Yeah.
somebody
It's
else.
like it's a brotherhood, the one that you guys have at Lighthouse and The Whaler. It's great. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
And how's parenthood treating you?
it's good. I love it. It can be challenging at times, but my kids are um just kind of, I don't know, I think maybe early on it just like they settled me down. They kind of they centered me, I should say.
Hmm.
Would be the way that I'd put it. Like, they showed me what's important, and I think that really helped with creating music too, because it's really focused me um on really wanting to do and be the best I can at this, not only for myself but for them, and to be able to show them that if you are focused and working hard, that you can do anything, because music's not an easy business to be in. But yeah, so it's definitely been an awesome thing, and they're also super cool, so I get to hang out with
Awesome. Yeah, man. Absolutely. Well,
that's
look at you. You're like an inspirational man as well. I love it. I love it, Michael. Yeah, man.
great.
So, I mean, dude, you guys are so great live, just on research and all that stuff. And you mentioned that you've been to Nashville a few times. Got us thinking. You've played the Basement. You've played Mercury Lounge in New
Yeah.
York. You've played like iconic venues side to side in the country. Does the venue matter, Michael? Because you always deliver live. Every time we've seen you perform, you always deliver. Does the theater actually matter as much as people say, or is it like really not that important?
So I think it does. I mean, I think a good band can put on a good show in any setting. I think even if they were like stripped down to being acoustic, like a good band will figure a way to make the show awesome. But I do think there are some venues like Shuba's in Chicago, for me, is one where it's just like this big wood floors, like a hall, kind of like a music hall, and it's just the stage is a little higher than it's like at like neck height for a lot of people, I would say. It's just a
Right.
great room, and I think that it it does carry something, especially if it's an iconic room. There's like this mystique, and maybe that's just for me as like being able to play in those places more than it is anything else. But I do think there's something about saying, I saw this band in this place at this time, that
Mm,
matters to people still. And so I do think that the venue does matter. And it always mattered to me. I always like seeing our little tour list with like the places we were playing and being able to say, oh,
right.
cool, we're going to be here and here. And once I played those places a few times, kind of knowing, how they were and the way they sounded and load in, load out, all that stuff. You just learn to love some of them. You learn to like really think that they're amazing, and really look forward to being in those places again.
Right on, right on. And like, one of them is in Cleveland. What's the name of the Agoda?
The
My God.
Agora.
Yeah, the Agora. That one's like still around, right?
It is, yeah. It actually closed for a little while, and then they reopened it, and now they're doing some killer shows there. So yeah, it's a
Yeah, gotta preserve the Agora, absolutely.
heck
And
yeah.
speaking of Cleveland, speaking of the Agora, Michael, what is it about Cleveland, right? Because I mean, I love Ohio, dude. I love Giant Eagle, Bob Evans, the whole thing. I love
Nice.
the whole thing, man.
Giant Eagle.
But but musically speaking, yeah, Giant Eagle, shout out, super underrated grocery store. But anyway, musically speaking, the bands, man, I mean, talk about the Pretenders, talk about the Black Keys,
Yeah.
9 Inch Nails, you guys coming from Ohio. What is it, Michael, about the Buckeye State that really, like, what's in the water there, the river, like, that is creating this amazing music?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I always think of it as like, it's just the Midwest. I mean, we're unassuming. I'd like to think, anyways, that we're unassuming, hardworking people, that we're not on either of the coasts. We don't have anything like uber, like crazy special. And because of that, there's just no pretentiousness to us. Not that other people are, but we don't have anything that we're like trying to prove.
Mm,
When we started early on, I remember there was a lot of bands, all these local bands that that we're all together, and we had this like saying, it was like, if one of us wins, then we all win. Like if one of us does well, then it's going to bring like this spotlight kind of onto Cleveland and what's going on here and everything that we were doing. And because of that like mentality, there wasn't really this like competition. There was just sort of like, we're all in this together.
Nice.
And so that was like a really cool experience. That was like years ago, when we were first starting out, and it was a really cool time for us because of that. Like we didn't feel pressure to be or do anything. It wasn't until later when things started happening that you started to feel pressure to like be something. Like that's when the pressure starts. But when we first started out, it was just kind of like here in Cleveland, that was the mentality that everybody had, and we were all in it together, and we were 1 degree separation from a ton of other groups in the area, some who have gone on to do great things, like Welshly Arms, Cloud Nothing. So there are people that we know or are connected to in some way who have gone on to have really successful musical careers. But I think that in Ohio, that's kind of like the vibe. And so because of that, and because we don't have this overarching, I don't know what it is, and thing in the ether that like makes us feel like we have to be something, we could just do what it is that we feel like we need to do. And there's not really,
Right.
you know, there's
Yeah.
not really anything,
And I
you
think that
know.
helps the art, Michael, because you're
Yeah,
more in tune with like the real shit of life,
sure.
because you're not busy pretending or doing something that actually like distracts you from
Yeah.
like, from artistic pursuits. I absolutely. Right
Yeah,
on,
and
man.
there's no like, there's like a smaller songwriting community here. Like we're not Nashville, we're not LA, we don't have all that stuff going on. There's fewer studios, and so it's like it's a tight knit community. It is what it is. We all know each other pretty well, or at least know of each other, and because of that, yeah, it just opens up a lot more. Like I'm just a dude in an attic most of the time making music. Like this is my studio that I'm sitting in now, and it's
Nice.
like, that's what it is. It's like it's pretty humble, but it works for us. So
Well,
it's
you're making great stuff out of that attic. Let me put it that way. It's the lab.
yeah.
And thank you. You're being so good with your time, Michael. So thank you so much. But you mentioned starting out, like, you mentioned like when the band started out, and you guys started in 2008.
Mhm.
And I think digitally iTunes was around and people were still buying like albums on iTunes, but the streaming thing was not obviously what it is today. And people still bought CDs actually, like I feel like.
Yeah.
How do you think you guys would have done, like, how do you think you guys would have started if you guys were to start today in 2021?
I ask myself this question all the time.
Yeah.
I've had other bands that we're friends with who would be like, oh, I'm starting a new project. Well, what should I do? And I'm like, man, I honestly don't even know. Like compared to when we started, like we would fill out the forms at the venues, like that they have to sign to say how many CDs you sold and stuff that you turn into like the, sound, whoever collects like all of the data on that stuff. It was It was like a way different experience.
Yeah.
But I would say just put out good music and be active on social media, which we try to be. We're not the best at it. I'm not a social media guy. I mean, I grew up obviously pre all that stuff. So
Maybe
uh,
MySpace. Maybe you had a little bit of MySpace
I
and all
did. I
that.
had a MySpace. Yeah. That was like my first social media thing, Well, Instant Messenger, I guess, really technically was the
Mm.
first one. But yeah, just put out good content, like good music, and let that speak for itself. Like don't try. I think a lot of artists are like, well, if I build like a social media following and I have like some really specific brand, then that's what matters. And I personally think that all that matters is that you make good music. Like if
Yeah.
you make a good song and you continuously make good songs and you put them out there over and over, even if, at first no one's paying attention. That's how it was with us. I mean, when we first started, no one was paying attention, but you just keep chugging away at it. And if it's quality, it will find a way, find a way out there. So that would be, yeah, that'd be my advice.
Amen. Amen. Amen to that, Michael. And let me leave you with this. Your songs that you've created in your attic with your bandmates have traveled the world. You've been on many TV shows, commercials. You've been on Grey's Anatomy. You've been on all kinds of stuff. When you
Yeah.
see like a trailer for like the Christopher Robin movie, which is like a big deal, and like your song is like the centerpiece of the trailer, and you know that people are watching this around the world, man. Like what's the feeling, right? Something that you created in your attic, out of your head, and now it's like going around.
Yeah, it's wild. I can't really describe it. It's probably like one of the best feelings because you feel like vindication for like all the work that you put in and all the time that you spent. The Christopher Robin one's cool specifically because I actually was in the movie theater seeing another movie with my kids, and that trailer played at the time.
Bananas.
And it was really cool. Like I was just like, I'm sitting in this movie theater. Nobody knows this, but that's my song right there. Like that was really, really cool. And
Did you almost want to like stand up and be like, excuse me,
yeah.
that's my song, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a surreal feeling. It's hard to explain. It's basically like everything that you've worked for coming to fruition in a way that is, you're touching something that very few people get to touch. And it's really, yeah, it's a cool experience.
It's like something you manifested into the physical realm, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Really powerful stuff. Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, Michael LoPresti, you've said it all. Lighthouse and The Whaler. What a band. What an album that you guys just released, guys. Congratulations, man. It's out now. Thank you so much for your time, Michael.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, man.
Anytime.
Appreciate it. Stay warm out there.
I will.